Welcome to the Rural Missions Podcast. We exist to enable rural churches in God's mission. So join us now as we hear stories of hope from across the UK. So I am today joined in the middle of a field. I am joined by Phoebe Mayner. So welcome, Phoebe.
Hi, Bob. Lovely to see you. It's great to be joining you this morning. Is it still morning? I feel like I'm not sure what time of day it is. I'm at New Wine at the moment, so I'm joining you from a campsite. I can distinctly smell barbecue already, so people are getting ready for a barbecue lunch, I'm sure.
Oh, how
So
beautiful.
I know maybe we should go on a walk. I'll pick up my laptop and we'll go and try and find a barbecue together. Maybe that's a good way to spend the show.
That would be great. And we just got to pray for the tech, because me and Phoebe have been on for a few minutes now. We're just praying that she is in the middle of a field and signal is not always hunky-dory. So you are looking sprightly for middle of a festival vibes, Phoebe.
Thank you. I'll take that. I'm actually in the last 8 days of it. It's 3 different festivals. So I was at Magnitude up in Scotland. I've been in HTB Focus, and then I'm here at New Wine. So I'm actually on a pretty long run of conferences. So if I still look sprightly, I think that's good going. So
Yeah,
it's good to
definitely
hear.
take it. Definitely take it. So you're on this run of conferences. You're in the middle of a
I
field now.
am.
You've been in a field for a little while in various parts of the country and countries.
Yeah.
What?
Yes.
Why don't you tell us, who are you? Tell us about yourself then, Phoebe.
Yeah, I would love to. So I'm Phoebe. I'm 25. I'm from Liverpool. If you can't hear that accent, I support the Reds and not the Blues. It's a very important distinction.
Wow.
And I wear 2 hats at the moment. I run a creative marketing agency for purpose-driven brands, and I work with a team here in the UK who kind of get alongside kingdom organizations that are passionate about Bible engagement and digital discipleship. And so I have the privilege of building relationships with different organizations for them, and just helping anyone and everybody really to engage with scripture in different ways. So right now in summer, that is looking like attending a lot of festivals, a lot of Christian festivals. So that's kind of what my life looks like at the moment. I'm about to move to London, which is so exciting, and makes work a little bit easier for me. So that's where I'm up to in life. As though 3
It,
festivals wasn't enough, I moved to London. I thought we'd just spice things up a little bit.
you say it's an exciting thing that you move into London.
It is. It is a very exciting thing. I am slightly concerned that with a northern accent they won't understand me. So if you could all join with me in praying for that, that would be excellent. I have to slow down a lot when I'm in London. Um, just for the sake of not sounding like Stephen Gerrard, I think.
Yeah.
So it'll be good fun.
No, that's good. That's good. So that is a little bit about you. You seem to
Yep.
wear several hats, and I dread to ask the second question because I every time I've asked it of a guest, nobody has an ordinary week, and I know that I
Yeah.
don't. This is probably the most stability I have, is that every Wednesday morning I know I need to be live here on Pure. But
Oh, that's
what
good.
what does an ordinary week look like for you then, Phoebe, when you're not traveling, doing festivals, and or is that a
Yeah, I
normal
mean,
week?
I was going to say, I'm not sure that there is a normal week. I think every week is different, especially in the summer. I'm traveling a lot in the summer. But generally, it would look like Monday is my meeting day. I get everything kind of booked in on a Monday. So by the end of the day, as much of an extrovert as I am peopled out by 5 p.m. And I tend to do kind of life group that evening. And then Tuesday through Friday, it looks like some client shoots for the creative marketing agency, creating strategy for purpose-driven brands. And what that looks like is often kind of kingdom organizations or kingdom leaders and CEOs who are bringing good news into the secular space or the marketplace, but without necessarily explicitly mentioning Jesus. So just kingdom values. And so I help them to make the organizations known. So I meet with different organization leads, and then lots of meetings, festivals, events, wherever I need to be. So I've racked up a lot of mileage in my car, probably a little bit more than my insurance will allow, but it's okay because they don't need to know about that. So that's what my week tends to look like. And then Sunday, of course, I'm in church. So that's kind of what a typical week, as typical as it can get, would look like for me.
So does that mean that you're getting chief execs doing TikTok videos and dancers and all those kind of things?
Yes, I am that socials girl. I am the girl that they talk about who like knocks on the very, very serious board meeting and says, "Can I just come in and film something and get them all doing something ridiculous?" But I try and limit that as much as possible. So usually it's people run away when they see me coming with my camera or my phone. But it's okay because I've figured out a way to lock them all down. If I bribe people with coffee or sweets, it tends to work. So that's the trick of the trade.
Now this isn't one of the 8 questions that I've sent you, but I'm just intrigued. What's the most
Go for it.
random or weird thing that you've got a brand to do or a chief exec? Like
Oh,
what
that's
what
so
what is
interesting.
something that stands out that you go, I can't believe I got them to do that?
I mean, there's been a few times where I've made a suggestion, kind of joking, but hoping that they'll say yes. And every so often they do, and I think, oh, I've just caught you at just the right moment. But I've had chief execs do like do like a slip and slide and all sorts, like carrying the sign, and they'll just slide down a hill with the sign, or I've had them do like a gunk challenge where things will get thrown at them, and I think, wow, you've got a board meeting in like 4 hours. Are you sure you want to let me do this? Um, oh, there's so many different stories. I can't think. Um,
Well,
yeah, we did a roundup video the other day with one of my clients, and because the World Cup had just happened, we did a whole World Cup themed annual roundup, and that was really fun. I didn't know if they'd agree to that, but they did. So yeah, lots of different things. It's super varied, my role, which
yeah,
which I enjoy.
that's good. Well, maybe I need to have a conversation with you about what TikTok videos do I need to make? What does rural missions, my other hat, need to be doing
Bob,
to
I will
get out
pull
into that
together a
space?
strategy for you, no worries. I feel like for rural missions, we need to get you in the middle of a field. It's all about the brand, rural missions. Let's get you in the middle of a field,
Yeah.
a campsite with nothing to do, and find your way around. Rural missions. Look at that
Yeah.
brand.
And obviously here we are right now. I'm sat in my office in the middle of Sutton in Ashfield, and you're the one out in the field. So there's a bit of a
I
difference
know.
of
We
rural
need
here.
to
Yeah,
feel
yeah,
we need to swap around. We got this the wrong
that's
way
it.
around today, Bob, but it's okay.
Yeah,
We can fix that with a quick marketing strategy.
yeah. So if people hear that and they think, oh yeah, that describes me, like, how would they find you, Phoebe? What
Mm.
would they be looking for to get in touch with you?
Oh, you're welcome to contact me. I've got a website called 15-4.co.uk, spelt out like the words, not the numbers. And if you reach out via that, I mean, I'd love to chat and hear about how I could support anything that you're doing. I'm really passionate about kingdom organizations, um, just being really present in the marketplace and not being left behind. Because I think we have the Holy Spirit, and He is the ultimate muse, the ultimate source of all of the ideas. The first time we see God as a creator. And so I think there's a lot of kingdom organizations who have incredible ideas that can change culture. Um, and so I want us to not get hidden below every
Yeah.
other organization. So yeah, that's how you can reach out if you're interested in that sort of thing.
Great. So that's 15-4.co.uk.
Yes, that's right.
Brill. So you're at a festival at the moment, so there must have been some
I
encouraging
am.
things happening. I'm wondering, you
Oh
might
my
have one or
gosh.
two. What's encouraged you recently?
I can have three or four if you want me to, Bob. I've got so many. So I think I actually said to Bob just before we jumped on, I said, how long do you want me to talk for? Because I can talk forever if you'd like me to. But I'll try not to. So yeah, you know what? At all of the different events that I've been at in the last few months, the thing which has encouraged me the most is unity in the church. I think there's been a huge shift in the last few years, especially of watching different organizations that maybe previously would have been in almost like, dare I say it, competition with each other to reach people, and actually this beautiful unity that's come about. There was actually an Instagram post I saw a few days back. Stephen Foster, I think, had posted it, and he talked about all these different festivals that were happening and about how we could pray for one another and just believe for what the Lord was going to do in every setting. And I think being at the events, um it's great to see that that's not just a post that someone is saying online to look great, but it's in the culture of each event that I'm at. People are really genuinely praying for for movements and for, I don't know, organizations and events that aren't their own, just believing that the Lord will move. And I've been so immensely encouraged by that, because I think when we can put our own agenda aside, and it's great to see it on like a corporate scale, these big organizations that we hear of, and big events, and that's great. But I think um when people can put their agenda aside for the wider goal of advancing the kingdom and sharing the gospel and just seeing people meet Jesus, it challenges you in your own life. So in my life, I'm kind of looking around and going, oh, how do I put my agenda aside in this? How do I become interruptible? Or, how do I treat, let's say, work or relationships or friendships or church as though there is no lack in the kingdom, because there isn't. And the more I can, signpost to other people and encourage others and uplift others, I wonder how my life would change. So honestly, I mean, that's been one of the most encouraging things for me in the past few months, is just seeing how the Lord is moving on unity. I mean, there's a scripture about it, right? Where there is unity, God commands a blessing. And I think part of what we're seeing in the UK at the moment, um, in these kind of radical salvations and these, amazing stories of people turning to faith, I think God is blessing the unity that we're seeing. And so, yeah, I'm just praying for more of it. But that's one of many, many things, I guess, condensed into one. So, Bob, you'll be glad to know I won't talk for another 40 minutes, but that's what I've been encouraged by. Yeah.
No, go for it. Give us one more then, Phoebe. Go on.
Okay. Oh, so many. There was I was at HCB Focus last week, and there was I mean, they had this section they were talking about, the Alpha course and all of these different testimonies that had come out of it. And there was a guy there who, and there's actually two stories in this, I guess, but there was a guy who was giving a testimony of how he'd encountered Jesus and had done an Alpha course, and he had been like severely kind of addicted to drugs and different things, and really lived a life, had joined the army at one point and had come out, and it had got worse. And as he was telling the story, it was just heartbreaking. He had kids who he no longer had contact with, um, and just hearing someone who almost in like our understanding couldn't have been further from God, um, be so radically transformed. He said he did kind of an AA program, and just met Jesus, just encountered the love of God. And just watching, I think it was 9,000 people, and almost everyone just like kind of jumped to their feet, because we were like, just watching almost the joy of the church and just seeing one person come home. But that's happening everywhere. So I was camping with the church whilst I was at Focus, and there's a guy there who's becoming a good friend, and he's really good fun. He's incredibly competitive at Monopoly Deal, is what I learned. And he has a similar story, but had been a drug dealer, and was very good at it, from what I understand. He was a businessman through and through, and just had a radical encounter with God, and yeah, is now kind of a key volunteer in the church, is probably knows scripture, back to front better than most of us could, because he just got like enraptured by like the zeal for the word and the zeal for Jesus. And it makes me go, so my family aren't Christian, they don't follow Jesus. And sometimes when I look around the world, and maybe even look at my family, I think, can God really do anything with that? It almost feels impossible when you're in the situation, but it's really easy to believe it when someone else is sharing. And so I think hearing these incredible stories of transformation and just lives completely turned around, it gives me faith for my own life and for my family. And yeah, and just different people that I've come across through work or other things, where I think, oh, actually, no one is too far gone. And we know that. We say that in church all the time, God loves everybody and there's no one too far gone. But it's just different when you're faced with a testimony that proves it. And I think the more we can share testimonies like that, the more powerful we can operate as a church, because we've got faith for what he can do. So there are a few things I've been encouraged by over the past few months.
Great. Thank you, Phoebe. Now, perfect. Yeah. you didn't talk for the next 3 hours, but really, but it's really good to hear and understand that there is
Mm,
something happening that for us as Christians, that God is really doing something and meeting with people. And
yeah.
as you say, people's story is powerful because you know what you go
Mm,
through, and nobody can deny you what you've gone through. It's like, no,
right.
I know that my life was changed, that I met Jesus, that this is what the transformation looked like. So, really
Mm.
beautiful, really encouraging. I'm hoping that it is inspiring the people that are listening. But welcome back. You've still got me, and Phoebe is with me. We're having a great conversation about what faith in the everyday looks like for her.
Mm.
So, Phoebe,
Yeah.
let's move on to our next question. Where have you seen good news in your everyday life?
I mean, I feel like I've been surrounded by good news at the moment. I feel like I'm in a lovely little season in my life where I've got friends having great breakthroughs. I mean, I'm really enjoying my work. I mentioned earlier, but I'm moving to London, which has been good fun. And I just feel there's been tons of really encouraging things and moments and stories that have happened over the last few weeks. Um, to cut a very long story short, I moved to London in 5 weeks, and I haven't yet found a place to live.
Oh,
I love to keep everybody around me and myself on the toes. And yesterday I found a place to live, so that was great news. Which is, cutting it fine, but there's nothing like a bit of spontaneity to keep things interesting. So that was great news. I have a friend who um she actually has had unfortunately, she's had two miscarriages. And recently she found out she was pregnant and is now kind of 6 months along. And so we're all incredibly excited for her. That is amazing news. And so as a kind of community, as a friend group, we're all celebrating her immensely because that is a huge breakthrough and she's so happy. And isn't it just great to see people who you love happy? Um, and just, yeah, experiencing their own kind of breakthroughs. And I think that's often where I see the most good news is in other people's lives. I think it's easier um to almost recognize sometimes when it's not your own story because you can see it from the outside. So when someone asks me where do I see good news in everyday life, I read the question before I joined, and I thought, I feel like I really need to sit and think about this. Where have I seen it in my own life? Because it's so easy to celebrate others. Um, but yeah, I mean, in so many ways. But I would say they're two of my highlights from the past few months. Or finding a place to live, which is always a good thing, and then my friend and her husband having their breakthrough
yeah.
with their baby. So
That's great. That's great. And as you say, like, it sounds like you're having quite a joyous time. You've got lots of things working well.
yes,
Things are
yeah,
moving on. But what keeps you going when life's difficult then, Phoebe? Because there must be those times.
mm, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been, I've had a great life. I've been incredibly blessed, but at the same time, it's not gone without struggles. Especially when I was younger, I dealt with a lot of mental health issues and different things like that. And so, it was in those moments, and even during COVID and different things, I remember, reaching a real low point, as I'm sure many people did. Maybe even some people listening were in the same boat. And um, I mean, I think obviously, I mean, for me, I'm a Christian. I follow Jesus, and so faith was a huge part of that for me, in terms of kind of keeping me going and just the consistency of as often as I could, or as often as I found the strength to, being in scripture or being in worship and those kind of things, or being in prayer, but just being encouraged by people around me. I think there's some really practical things you can do when life is getting difficult. And I think maybe sometimes, although I am Christian and I love the church, I think we can over spiritualize it a little bit sometimes. And I think there are some really practical things that can get you through when life is difficult. Actually, the same friend that I spoke about before, who's now having a baby, we were chatting a few years ago, and she was going through a hard time. And I just remember we used to live together, and she was unhappy for a few days in a row when she got home. And I remember thinking, it's gonna sound really harsh. I remember thinking, she needs to snap out of this. Like, what's going on? And I know I didn't say that to her. I kind of, I was like, how can I help and what's going on? But it's hard seeing someone who you love not doing so great. And we were talking, and I was like, I think you just need to chase joy. I was like, I think you just need to chase joy for a few days. And she's like, what do you mean? I said, what are really small things that you love? We were students at the time, so neither of us had much cash. So going and doing something extravagant wasn't an option. It wasn't like we could go on a shopping spree. But I said, what are small things that you really enjoy? Just chase moments of joy. And so we did. We spent the next 2 days. I went with her when we went and work, and little things like we got a favorite coffee, and a favorite thing I think at the time was like I think it was an Oreo McFlurry from McDonald's. And so really small things I think that you can do practically to help you on the days that just aren't great. And we both love exercise, so we would go for a run. And it was like identifying nothing extravagant, but really small things that just get you through that day. And just give you a moment of joy, and then and you deal with the next day when it comes. But I mean, both of us follow Jesus, so that was, faith was a huge part of that, and absolutely timing in worship and prayer. But I do think just practically chasing joy in those moments, I think, is so important. So chase joy today, and I still kind of live by that. If I'm having not a great day, I'll be like, okay, how can I chase joy today? If I wake up and just don't feel great, my favorite coffee is a flat white, so I'll go, and if I can, I'll get myself a flat white. I actually have a dog. His name is Buddy. He's a cocker spaniel, and he is clinically insane. So I'll go to a field and let him run off some energy, but he's such a sweet dog. And that brings me joy. So I'll try and find little pockets, little moments, just to either appreciate what is in front of me, or like I'm sat here in a field with these beautiful green trees, and kind of flags waving and different things, and just people watching a little bit, and that brings me joy. So yeah, I would find little things that can help you get through a day. That's what I do.
Great. Well, thank you, Phoebe. Let's choose joy. And we're talking about joy, we're talking about faith, we're talking about hope. So, Phoebe, the next question, you said it's a big question. What role does faith, hope, and purpose play in your life?
That is a huge question. I was just saying, keeping it easy and light on a Wednesday morning. I mean, it is like the primary, yeah, it's like the driving force in my life, faith, hope, and purpose. I think we were just chatting before the last track about when life gives you lemons kind of thing. When life isn't as easy, what do you lean into? And I think um there are some times I can think back on, and I think if I didn't have faith, or I didn't have hope, I'm not entirely sure I would have got through them. And I think it's got to be almost a grounding force for us. There's a lot going on in the world. There's just a lot. No matter, how much you try and curate your Instagram feed and surround yourself with great people, and have fun, and, kind of block out any negativity that's going on around us. There's just a lot happening. All you have to do is turn on the news, or switch on your phone, or maybe even the radio, but not your show, Bob, not your show. And you come across things which just makes you think, oh my gosh, life is just a lot sometimes. And I think for me, you know, having like I said earlier, I believe in Jesus. I'm a Christian, and so faith for me has been a huge part of my life, and it's directed a lot of different steps that I've taken, and how I treat others, but also how I respond to how other people treat me. And I think that's really important, because often, we can try and, be bitter or unforgiving towards another person because they've done something which maybe wasn't great towards us. But when you're grounded in faith and hope, and you kind of go, actually, that is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to not do so great, if I'm like holding on to that bitterness. And so I think there's big things that my faith and hope has impacted in my life. I moved to Bradford when I was 18 to do a Bible college, and I've lived there for 7 years, and I believe moving to London is the next big faith step for me. And so there's huge stories, but there's also much smaller daily decisions on how I treat others, how I respond to people treating me. how I react in situations, which I do not get perfect by any stretch of the imagination all of the time. But I think when you can be grounded in those things, faith, hope, and purpose, mountains don't always turn into molehills. Molehills don't always turn into mountains if you can keep them that way. Oh, we really got it the wrong way around then. Yeah, if you can have a bigger picture in mind.
Yeah. And that plays perfectly in, because in our first hour we always have a ponder of the week, something to mull through, to think on. And this week's ponder was don't despise the small beginnings. So it's a verse out of Ecclesiastes, Zechariah. It's one of those. I'm trying to remember it now. But either way, it was in the first hour. So it's exactly what you're saying. Like, faith is not despising those small beginnings, and you have that purpose, you have that plan, and God ultimately works it through, and getting you out of Bradford. But He's sending you to London, so I don't know which one. He got you out of Liverpool.
Well, I do think, I know, he's got me on a wild goose chase, I think. Came from Liverpool to Bradford. I said to someone the other day, I don't think anyone ever goes, where I really want to move to? Bradford. But I definitely felt called there. I remember I told my family, and they were like, are you sure? Are you sure you want to move to Bradford? And you know what? It's been the most phenomenal 7 years. I got to live in Bronte County, so I was surrounded by fields and all sorts. So maybe it's not the Bradford you're thinking of. But I don't know about London yet. We'll see.
Yeah. So, next question. We've got two more questions.
Yeah.
What is one lesson that life has taught you? Because it sounds like you've had some adventures, but what's the lesson?
Yeah. This is going to sound really cringy, Bob, so forgive me. But honestly, I would say work hard, play hard. I love my work. I love what I do, and it took me a little minute to find work that I loved. I know I'm young, but I've been working. I worked since I was 13. I had a job when I was 13 and carried on, outside of school and kept going. So although I'm still young, I've worked for a long time, and I work immensely hard. But I do not do that without also, I mentioned earlier, but chasing joy, finding things that I love, making space to have adventures. And it can be 7 p.m. and it's sunny, and I live an hour and a half away from the nearest beach. And I texted my friend the other day. I said, what are you doing? She said, nothing. I said, let's go to the beach. Why not? And I just think the more opportunity, like the more chances we can take to curate a memory or a great moment or just an adventure, something, a story. I just think on average you can look back on your year and go, what a phenomenal year. Like, look at all these great things that you got to do. And life is always busy. If someone asks me how I am, the first thing I usually say is I'm busy and I'm tired. But in the middle of that, I don't know. I think work hard, play hard. In every chance I get, I'll get a nice coffee, if I can, or I'll go to the beach, or I'll catch up with a friend, even if it is, I have a friend who's the busiest person I've ever met in my life, and the only time I can chat to her is at 7 a.m. if you go for a walk at 7. So I drag myself out of bed at 6:30, and I'm always late, bless her. Every week I say, I'm so sorry, Steffi, I'm late again. But that's one of the ways that I get to catch up with her and have joy, and go for a walk and grab a coffee. So work hard, play hard. And keep Jesus at the center of it all. That's what I would say. Because actually God is fun. God is not this big bad guy in the sky barking orders at us, but he wants us to to lean into him and lean into fun. He created joy. So I had to learn the hard way. I am naturally a workaholic, and I've had to unlearn that, I think, over the last few years. So that is a lesson that life has taught me, for sure.
That's good. And it does mean that you're going to have to start waking up about 3 a.m. to go on this walk, because it's quite a trek to Bradford from London.
It is. It's quite a trek to Bradford. But it's all right. I can sleep on the train. It's okay. I'll get up at 3. I'll go to sleep on the train. I'll be there for 7. It'll be great.
Yeah. Great. So we're choosing joy. We're finding joy. We're looking to what God has for us. So Phoebe, we are down to our last question. We're coming up to the end of our hour together. Now, this one is probably the crux of it all. We've got people listening. They're going to be able to listen back on the Rural Missions podcast to our conversation. So what would you say in closing to someone listening today who needs some encouragement?
That's a great question. Well, it's been a great hour, Bob. I think there are a few things I would say, but I'll keep it brief. I would say chase joy, like we've been talking about throughout our conversation. Chase joy where you can. And even if the worst thing you can think of would happen, you're gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay. Even if like sometimes we avoid making a decision or chasing an opportunity or yeah, just being ourselves because we worry about something happening. It's like even if you're gonna be fine. So there are a few things I would say to anyone who needs encouragement today.
So things are going to be fine, no matter what.
Even if it's gonna be fine. So that's what I found the other day. Even if you're gonna be okay. Because you've got this far and you'll make it further. So that's what I would say.
That's good. Again, I don't think you were listening in the first hour, but I explored a little bit about the Ebenezer, that God has brought us safe thus far.
Yes. I love that. How great is this? I had no idea that you were talking about those things in the first hour, so I love that. So God's brought you this far, so even if you're gonna be fine. That's what I said that to a friend the other day. She's going through something, and I said, your empirical data shows you that you're gonna get through it. So even if you're gonna be fine. Yeah. So that's what I'd say today.
I love that you chose to tell her the empirical data says so. Wow, that.
Well, I just think sometimes we don't think we can get through things, and then you look back at your life and you realize, oh, I can. I've got through worse. It's gonna be all right. So I said, your empirical data tells you that you can get through it.
No, that's good.
I did think she looked at me a little bit quizzical, so I wonder if she was wondering what empirical meant. I'm not even sure I'm entirely sure what empirical means, but I hope it encouraged her in some way.
It sounds good. Sounds fancy, doesn't it? It sounds like it should make sense. Yeah.
I've got to say fancy words. I'm moving to London. I'm trying to adjust that vocabulary to be around all my new London friends.
And as you started the hour, you said you're from Liverpool and you apologise for your accent almost, but I think you've been fine. I reckon everyone will have completely understood you, Phoebe. I think you've been in Bradford long enough that it's helped.
Oh, it's toned
the
elocution
of the Yorkshire.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear it. If anyone has any problems with the Scouse accent, you can just email Bob Goody at Rural Missions.
Yeah, if that gets to me, then well done on being able to do that. That's good. So brilliant. If people do want to get in touch with you then, Phoebe, how would they do such a thing?
By all means, email me at phoebe@15-4.co.uk, and they are spelled like the words, not like the numbers. So 15-4.co.uk, and it would be great to connect and hear from you. So
they're connecting with you about what? Remind us what 15-4 does, Phoebe?
Well, if you are interested in creative marketing of a purpose-driven organization, or you just want to get your message out there through creative marketing, digital marketing, emails, website, anything you can think of, and you really believe that you've got kind of a dream on your heart that you want other people to know about, then by all means reach out, and I would love to help you make that happen.
That's great. Well, thank you, Phoebe. Thank you for all your wisdom, your insight. Hope that the rest of New Wine goes well for you, and
thank you.
Yeah, that you maybe come out of the sun for a little while, find some sun cream, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't think I'm sunburnt yet, but I can definitely smell the barbecue that I spoke about at the start. So I think the first thing I'm doing after this call is I'm going to go and try and make a campsite friend with whoever has got a barbecue going.
That's one of the best things about festivals, isn't it? Go find some friends who's got the nicest lunch.
Exactly. Well, it's been so incredible to chat, Bob, and I hope that something I've said has been helpful. But yeah, I hope everybody has a great day.
Bro. Well, thank you, Phoebe. Don't forget our ponder of the week. Don't despise the small beginnings. What are those little things that you might do today to be a bit more intentional, to move towards your goal, what your purpose is, or even just picking up a phone and having a conversation? Just start the ball rolling and don't despise those small beginnings. You can listen back to all of our Faith in the Everydays at the Rural Missions Podcast. Just head over to your usual provider and find that for yourself. But thank you all for joining me. To find out how we can support your church, head to ruralmissions.org.uk.